really good to be home on many fronts, on a home front, on a life front, but also for the film. You know, this was an English crew and a majority of it an English cast as well, so it felt like a very English affair anyway, even though we're joining, you know, up with the fantastically comic book laden original Marvel series and becoming part of the bigger Marvel Cinematic Universe. But you know, what I'm saying is there's a lot to take pride in. You know, it was filmed in Longcross, amazing DOP and camera crew that were all English, sound department that was English, incredible set decks and prop supervisors and creative artists at every single level of what we did that were from this country. It's just very exciting. You know, I saw it for the first time with the rest of the people in the world premiere in LA, and you have a fair idea of what the context is because you have to ask stupid questions when you're an actor, and it's important. And let alone when you're then involved with sort of scenarios and set pieces and visuals that are going to be developed in post. So Scott's very good at leading you with that, but then also there's this fantastic thing called Previs, which is so richly animated in its storyboarding. You know very clearly what the end product may lean towards, but it's a sketch, and to see the full composition by the end is just mind-blowingly beautiful. So I'm thrilled for audiences to get a thrill on that level, let alone the story and broadening the cinematic universe with this great character, Stephen Strange. Magic, really. I think that's what it does. You know, we've had Norse gods, we've had billionaire playboy philanthropists who have a genius penchant for building ironclad suits and protective weaponry for the world. We've had genetically re-engineered superhero Captain America, and now we're moving into a new era, a new chapter. Black Panther and Captain Marvel as well to be included in that number. And Stephen Strange just makes the canvas a lot bigger. He's Sorcerer Supreme, or you know, we'll get there eventually, and he protects what the Avengers know as their reality from other dimensional forces. So yeah, just when you think a frame of a superhero film is getting a little bit full, we've just made it go. You know, we put a lot of hard work into this, tried to do something unique and different, and at the same time reward die-hard fans who expect certain traits of Strange of old from the amazing Ditko and Stan Lee comics, and also just put my own stamp on it as an actor. So yeah, if we're getting a good feedback, what's not to love? It's great.
I loved playing her. Her name's Christine Palmer, and she's kind of an amalgamation of a few of the characters from the old Doctor Strange days. She's been updated a bit. So she's a doctor in an emergency ward where she works with Stephen Strange, and they previously had a relationship, but when we pick up in the film, they're kind of friends, fractured, but you know, still friends. So yeah, it was a kind of an interesting place for the two of them to pick up. They have a lot of history together. I'm gushing about it, obviously, but I was really blown away. I think everyone's performance is phenomenal, and I feel really lucky to be a part of such a, you know, high caliber cast, and it's funny and it's fun, and yet there's such deep emotion to it, and it's really about something. And as Scott said, he wanted it to be about building up rather than tearing down. That at the end, it's not about destruction; it's about reconstruction, and you know, and I think that's very cool to, you know, something different. So it's very fresh. It means the world. It really does. You know, it's those are the people you're doing it for. So, so to have that blessing and that encouragement is just, you know, I'm just sort of on cloud nine about it. And I can't imagine the pressure that was on Benedict, you know, to become this beloved character. So, I'm really happy for him that everyone's embraced his version, because I think it's just phenomenal. He became Doctor Strange, which you know, he always does that with all of his roles. So I don't, you know, why would expect any less.
It's Doctor Strange, and he was written in the '60s, early '60s. Obviously, very flavored by the how the Western world was approaching the Asian world at that point, and got inspired from there. So it would feel, to a degree, a little psychedelic. But hopefully not so much that it doesn't feel like a Marvel film. Obviously, when you open up a box full of magic, only the sky is the limit from there, right? We're not talking about people who possess superpowers. We're talking about people who can alter realities, and that is amazing. I think that people should just lean back and you know, clean the screen and go for the ride, see what it is. It's called Caecilius, my character, and he is. You probably would call him the villain, but in my world, he's a misunderstood hero. his task is to make the world a better place, a place where there's no suffering and no pain, and where you live eternally. I think he's onto something. I've never seen it before. I mean, obviously we had to imagine what was on the green screen, but that they actually did what they do now was mind-blowing for me. Obviously, we do it for the audience, and if the critics love it as well, or at least doesn't dislike it, we are very happy and pleased. So we are very content that the Rotten Tomato people are embracing this film. We've seen before what his talent is able to do. He's an amazing actor. He has a little of what Doctor Strange also has. He has the ability to pick up skills personally within a fraction of a second. I mean, he learned how to fight in a few days. He learned how to be a neurosurgeon in a few days. It's always nice to watch the film with an audience. I mean, that was my first time though, so I always prefer to watch it myself first. But then I was thrown into the lion's cage there, and there was a good reaction in there, and I enjoyed it a lot. The Marvel Universe has always had a certain amount of humor, and it's such a fine balance. If you throw, and you keep throwing, punchlines in there, it can be too much, and if there's none, it can be too little. So that fine balance, I think they got on this one.
Those who know the comic will have a little idea that it's going to be a trip, and those that don't, well, I mean, you got Benedict Cumberbatch and Marvel, and a few of us reprobates around the corners, and it's amazing. It's a proper trip, isn't it? It's a Marvel film that is not exactly a superhero film. It's about humans who are learning that you can affect your reality with your mind. What's not to do about that? It was just amazing and impossible to refuse.
Visually stunning, visual feast for the eyes. And we've got a really interesting story that's not your archetypal superhero story. There's no radioactive spiders or surges of electricity. This is a real sort of human story of this an arrogant neurosurgeon, the ego on a spiritual journey, if you will, like trying to heal himself after this horrific crash to sort of regain his own sort of power or within his own control. And I guess it's that relinquishing of that control that allows him to discover these mystic powers. I'm not giving any spoilers away, I don't think, but and then obviously they meet my character and Mordo, and he needs to know that there is something, a greater cause than himself. Yeah, Wong is kind of the drill sergeant of the piece. He's the librarian at Kamar-Taj. Also, he's not your average librarian, like overdue books are kind of fine with broken fingers. So it's a Wong you don't really mess with. He's a sorcerer, a master of sorcery, and yet he's also Doctor Strange's intellectual mentor. So I think it's a really refreshing take and much needed. Apparently I'm the new straight guy, the stony-faced straight guy. So. Obviously, he'll chuck all these improvised jokes at you, and my ability to kind of contain myself is. You'll have to check the blooper reel. Actually, you'll see some moments where I sort of combust. Oh yeah, it was great. Yeah, I was really thrilled, and also just sort of hook up with some buddies. Benedict I've known a number of years, and Chiwetel's a good pal of mine, and just to be involved in a sort of have an East Asian superhero, and to claim it by birthright is fantastic. Oh, I mean, it's amazing, I mean, it's just not us on the front line, I'm a bit of a cog within the whole machine of this, and there's thousands of people that have been involved in this, and we all stand together and be very proud of this piece. A costume, set design, and the list goes on. The editing's incredible, and the fact that this is something that you really want to go see again. And I think Kevin Feige and Scott Derrickson have just done an amazing job to bring together. And for me, on a personal point of view, just to be sort of a part of this incredible ensemble's a real honor.
Well, they can expect a mind trip action movie, with a central character who goes through quite a journey and quite an arc. I mean, I want them to enjoy the originality of it. It's original on a visceral visual level. There are set pieces and action that no one's seen before, and I hope that they enjoy it, on a deeper character level too. There's I think a lot of interesting ideas in the movie and a lot of emotional thought that went into the sculpting of these characters and the way that the actors portrayed them. Well, the idea of the movie was to create set pieces that had not been done in any other kind of movie. I'm growing a little tired personally of big budget visual effects movies where the effects are all used for destruction and gunfire and things that we've seen 1,000 times. And I was committed to making a movie where every visual effects scene was creative and original and was showing the audience something new. It's very cutting edge, and there's a lot of things in this that we couldn't have done 5 years ago. There's a lot of stuff that we couldn't have done 6 months ago because it was created for this movie. There were things that we would come up with, and I would say this is what it needs to be, and there was no visual effects software that could create it, so they created it. And whenever you're inventing things for the first time to achieve a specific effect, that's a good sign. Oh, fantastic. It feels right to be opening it here. I spent well over a year here. I feel like it's now one of the few cities in the world I've lived in. And we made good use of the location, and the crews here were amazing. It was great to shoot here, so it's only right that we're showing the movie here. Yeah, of course, it's better than getting the thumbs down at the end, But when you make a movie, you never know. You never know exactly where you are. All you can do is hope that you've made something that you think is good, that you think is a movie worth viewing, and then when that actually connects with the public, it's very satisfying. It had to be Benedict in this role. We pushed the release schedule for him. That's how much we wanted him, and felt strongly that he was the right guy. And yeah, he's fantastic in the movie. No one could have done better. When you see it, you realize, again, no one could have played it but her. In fact, when I wrote the role, I wrote it for her, picturing her, and I told Kevin Feige, the head of Marvel, that if we needed to offer it to her, and if she turned it down, I was going to have to rewrite the role for someone else because it was so distinctly her in my mind. But she luckily did it, and obviously did an amazing job. Well, especially when you're dealing with a movie like this that's trippy and surreal and a little freaky in places and has tension, you got to give the audience some break, here and there. And that's the comedy I like. I don't so much like comedy where it's coming at you all the time and you're constantly trying to create laughs. I like to laugh at things because they're unexpected. And comedy that comes out of tension or out of dramatic scenes are always the best, in my opinion. I talk about it as the MCU opening up to the MCM, the Marvel Cinematic Universe opening to the Marvel Cinematic Multiverse. So we're literally creating new dimensions within which characters can exist and move and fight, and sometimes there's malevolent beings in those other dimensions. So the comic did that. Doctor Strange introduced a lot of paranormal and supernatural elements into the world of the comics, and we're bringing other dimensions and magic and extra dimensions.
I think the best way to put it is with the phrase that Scott has used from the earliest meetings we had with him, which is a mind trip action film about a character going on this amazing journey of self-discovery. It's amazing because, we shot the film here, so it feels surreal to be back here, and to be here feels extra surreal, but the full circle aspect of coming back, seeing some members of the crew is amazing, and by coincidence, our hotel where we're staying is literally on the street of where the opening of the movie takes place, so it's just a lot of surrealness to go along with the theme of the film, I guess. We knew we wanted to push boundaries, right? The earliest days of the comics, it was always really different. And Steve Ditko was an amazing artist who pushed visual boundaries. And we knew that if we were going to pull this movie off, we had to take risks, we had to do bold things with the action, with the take on magic, because, it needs to stand apart. It needs to stand apart from not just movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but movies about magic, action movies. We're competing against all of that in terms of showing an audience something very new. So that went into every thought we had about what we were going to put on screen with magic, with these visuals. It's cool. Magic is going to come crashing into the MCU in a big way, which is kind of exciting. And a lot of people are asking me, what does this mean now? Magic is in the MCU in what has felt like a really grounded, earthbound place. And we're like, yeah, exactly. That's kind of the point. We don't we aren't necessarily sure all the ways it's going to work together or crash together, but that's exciting. We love the opportunities of those challenges, and we love making the choices in the moment for the best things to do in each individual film, and then letting the stories tell us where to go from there. And I think magic is an amazing card to be dealt into the deck. Yeah, Benedict owns his character. He's amazing. We'd be on set and there'd be close-ups with him half the time, and I had to pinch myself with how much he looked like the comic and how much he looked like those images just walked right off on the screen. But as an actor, he's amazing. As he has the depth to go on a journey that this character goes through. You know, a lot of our actors, a lot of our characters, no one's gone on quite as big of an arc, right? I mean, Tony goes through a big arc, Tony Stark, but there's a lot of the Tony swagger in Iron Man that he was at the beginning, right? He's still, he's learned to use his intellect for something better. In the case of Stephen Strange, he's almost a totally different human being at the end of the movie. And to have a character go through that big of an arc, to essentially play two roles in one movie, you need someone like Benedict with that kind of depth. Tilda embodies such an ethereal, otherworldly grace and wisdom. She feels like she has it all figured out in the best possible way, right? And you need someone like that to bring this sort of centuries-old wisdom to the screen. She just carries it when she's on the screen, and she was one of the first people we talked about when we were putting this film together and talking about that role, and the fact that she agreed to do it was amazing, and people are really enjoying her performance in the film. It's amazing because, you know, good reviews are nice, but what I really like about people that are enjoying the movie is they're liking what we set out to do. They're sort of liking the DNA of the movie, the weirdness of the movie, the big buys of the movie, the things that could have gone really wrong, right? The big swings can also be big misses. So the fact that they seem to be responding to that is extremely gratifying and kind of a bit surreal. It's like waiting for your exam test to come in as those start to roll in. It was really cutting edge. The sequences were all so complex that we had to figure out new ways to do them for each one of them. You know, from our finale, which I don't want to give anything away, was incredibly complex. Took a long time to shoot because it involved many layers of shooting each layer to achieve the desired effect. And with all of these sequences, we said we were going to do them, and then there was always that moment of like, okay, what does that mean? How are we actually going to pull it off? And luckily, we had an amazing team of producers and visual effects supervisors and stuntmen and production designers that are all so game to just sit down and figure it out and say, okay, how do we do the impossible on screen? How do we put magic on the screen and make it believable? Because Scott, from the very beginning, said, if the magic doesn't feel real, if it doesn't feel like it's actually something happening in front of the lens of the camera, this whole movie is not going to work. So it was a big challenge to do that. It's a movie about sorcerers, right? So, of course they can travel over the world in an instant, and you really have to go to those places to put them on screen. I mean, you can't fake Kathmandu. You have to go to Kathmandu, and the audience can tell when you're in an actual place. Everything about it in every corner of the frame just feels so real and so tactile that it just infuses the movie with reality that is very hard to fake. So that was important to us, whether it was the streets of New York, the streets of Kathmandu, going to Hong Kong and finding the best streets there. It really elevates the movie to, again, it's a movie about magic. If the locations don't feel real, the magic's not going to feel real.
And this one here, please. Thank you very much.
Last 2 rides again. Last one, guys.
And thank you. And next to his, please. Okay. And just over here, please. Both of you. Straight ahead, please. Thank you very much. And to go over the hat, please. Right, that's lovely, right there. Beautiful, thank you very much.
And surgery.
There we go. And to go over the hat, please. Next we go. Hi, Tilda. Great.
And turn it to the left.
And just Tilda, this way, please. Tilda. Brilliant. That's beautiful. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Sir, to your left.
All right, cool.
Yeah.
So yes.
This way, please, sir. Right here.
And sir, to your left, please.
Good.
That's how you'll do.
It's a good picture.
Thank you so much. Please.
Hi, Vali here, and I've got some movie title trivia for you with a list of movie names that have become part of everyday speech. Now, let's start off with the movie Single White Female. My new roommate is kind of needy. I hope it doesn't turn into a single white female scenario. Fatal Attraction. The sex was great, but I think there might be a fatal attraction thing going on. Animal House. We went to a frat party last week and it was a total animal house. Rashomon. Trying to investigate this murder was like a Rashomon. Everyone had a different story. Gaslight. He married this woman and proceeded to gaslight her to try and get her money. Sophie's Choice. My daughter's play is at the same time as my son's first football game. It's going to be a real Sophie's Choice. Rayman. That guy is a genius. He's like a total Rayman catfish. I totally got a catfished last year. She turned out to be a 44-year-old guy. Groundhog Day. This week at work was the same, day after day. It was like Groundhog Day situation. Have you ever used any of these sayings? Are there some I missed? Let me know in the comments below. And remember to subscribe to our channel for all the best trailer releases. See ya.